Hey everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Stuff, hopping on to a live stream. Seems like it's all coming online. All right. Let me make sure everything's working before I jump in here. If someone can hop into the live chat and tell me if you can hear me, I would greatly appreciate that. I just want to make sure everything is working. And it looks like it's still struggling. There it goes. Okay. So hello everyone. We have a ton of stuff to talk about because a lot of things were revealed, and I wanted to give a few channel updates, and I couldn't think of a better format to do it than just talking with you really quick about this. So, as far as some of you may have noticed, content kind of slowed down a smidge during this last week, Friday into today, where I would normally be doing videos. But I want to let you know that I did film my first battle report. I'm super excited for it. The thing was, I didn't account for how much space it would take on my computer. So the files for doing that prevented me from doing literally anything else. And so it was a real bummer. But it is coming. It is edited. It'll be live on Wednesday. And things will pretty much resume back to normal. What that tells me, though, is that I need to get an external hard drive or something like that before I can do any more. And that's fine. So it'll be out there. It'll give me time to get feedback. And then I'll go back to making more of them. So as far as what we're going to do tonight, it is going to be sort of a shorter show. I do have a few things to paint, but not a ton. I'm getting kind of tired of painting Beasts of Chaos. I'll be perfectly honest with you. It's easy to look at that and be like, oh, Doug's doing what Doug does and switches armies. But no, I'm just tired of the flesh colors and things like that. So pretty soon I'll be jumping into some a new army. Not to play competitive stuff. It's still going to be Beasts of Chaos, but just to paint something different. So yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. As far as what is going on with me, I'm going to transition down to my down cam. And let's see here. One thing I wanted to share with folks is that I do have a new book that I'll be reviewing here pretty soon. Oh, it's kind of backwards on your end. I'm sorry about that. But it is Black Pyramid, the Hallowed Knights book by Josh Reynolds. Super favorite author in the Black Library lineup, and really excited for it. So when this is done, I do plan on doing a full lore review, a full video for Gardas, because he's had a number of stories that make him extremely interesting. So very stoked for that. No, Jack, I don't want to paint your flesh eater courts because I'm pretty sure we're using the exact same scheme. Or like the typical flesh eater court is a lot of Rakarth flesh, which is exactly what I'm doing with all of my guys. So let me pull those guys over here. I got the big chunk of brokenness coming at you. So it's 3 more enlightened and 6 skyfires total. All right, so yeah, that's what I'm looking at doing. The actual Zangors themselves are actually nearly done. It's just moving down into the discs for the most part. So yeah, I'm pretty pumped about that. Yeah, you can spray them with some of the Xandri dust, but I didn't want to, frankly. No, actually, there is a local gentleman who's looking to clear out a whole bunch of Carriage and Overlords. And it's an army that aesthetically has enticed me quite a bit. And it's affordable, and it's something different. You know what I mean? Where these are lots of organics and things like that. Those are a lot of metallics and harder edges. So I think it'll be quite a bit of fun to paint something like that. And so that is the future going forward here. Let's see what I got left. I really just have the horns to touch up. Got to do that highlight with Eshin Gray. Nope, Rust Gray. Johnstone. Eshin Gray, here we go. Okay. So, absolutely. What is everyone working in the chat tonight? As I get myself kind of set up for painting, we'll jump into tonight's topic, which is just daydreaming, and we're going to predict. I don't like predictions because I don't like people who say as I predicted. But we're going to take a wild shot at what we'd like to see from the Skaven and Flesh Eater Court Battletomes. So Someone just says bone splitters. You want to see bone splitters in those books? That'd be fun. Let's see. Let me get a fat paintbrush. Here we go. And okay. Sorry about that. Just had to adjust my light a little bit. Okay, so let's start. Basically, what I'm doing is taking the black horns, because that's what they have for Gave Spawn, and just doing a little thing of Eshin Gray to pick out the ridges, because they're kind of nice and jagged. I find that the horns on the Zangor are much more well defined than the horns on like the older sculpts, which makes sense. They're old. But all right. So we're gonna dig in here. I'm gonna pull up the news page that came out, and we're just gonna walk through the things that we're excited about. The first thing I want to start off with is this idea of every army, and there's a few for 40k as well, getting terrain. I'd love to know y'all's thoughts on that. And the reason I say that, it's something that I go both ways about. I love the fact that everyone has pieces of scenery that like lend to their army and like are aesthetically matching. Let me pull the mic down towards me a little bit more. I'm talking down here while I'm painting. But what I don't like is necessarily is that it doesn't always make sense. Like some are definitely better explained than others. So for example, I still have no idea where the boat comes from with Deepkin. That was just honestly never explained. It bugged me when I reviewed their book. Yeah, so like that kind of stuff. Like, okay, but the Deepkin bring this ethereal sea with them, so let's say they just bring, I don't know, ghost ships with them. The herd stones aren't very mobile, so in a thematic game where like the Beast of Chaos get attacked, it makes sense to have a herd stone there. When they're doing the attacking, why would it already be there? That's the thing. That kind of stuff I get a little confused about. In the case of the Skaven ones, I think it makes more sense. The idea of their gnaw holes opening up as the battle starts. Totally cool with that. But there's definitely rumors of like, what do you call it? Not Seraphon. There's Seraphon getting terrain. That kind of stuff. So what are your guys' thoughts? Do you like that everyone has terrain now? I'm kind of curious about that, because I hear folks go both ways, just like me, about it. What I don't want is for it to be not special anymore. That's the thing. But again, I'm torn. I want everyone to have access to cool stuff. And let's see here. Next guy. Also, I feel like mostly with the Nurgle trees was the first time I noticed it, where like it was the time where if you didn't buy the model for the terrain, you were kind of out of luck for the rules. Like you couldn't unlock your army's full potential. And that kind of takes away from the idea of like building whatever army you want, because at that point you're always including a terrain piece. The pro, of course, being like, every army gets something cool, and it's an easy way to, like the Herdstone was a great way to just kind of re-up the Beast of Chaos. I don't know. I think for some factions it makes far more sense. Like Nurgle trees spreading the garden everywhere makes perfect sense to me. But not so much a Herdstone just appearing. And again, my internet is fluctuating wildly for no apparent reason, so if we lose each other, like I said, this is going to be a shorter one anyway. The work on my battle report got kind of threw everything off a little bit, so that's okay. I threw my schedule off, so I won't be able to paint for very long. But I wanted to get something out today where people can hang out and chat. Let's go over to, once I get this horn done, we're going to go over to the news section, and we're going to take a look at the They recently revealed stat lines for some of those new units because I'm very excited about particularly the Skaven bombardier dude. Enough with the pessimism about terrain. Let's start talking about models, yo. Okay. So we're going to go to... All right. Make sure it's all working. Yep, okay. Let's see, that's the news article. Preview, new models. Okay. So the dude looks like he's shredding a guitar. I love it. What's interesting is that he is a warlock engineer. So he also gets to do the warp lightning. If you're not familiar with that, it's a pretty cool way of basically doing arcane bolt, but better because it's D3 mortal wounds. His doom rocket, which I pointed out in our group chat, is 1 attack, 4 to hit, 3 to wound, 1 rend, and D6 damage, which is exactly the same hit profile as the huge slathering maw, I believe, from the Gorgon, which Mark says has never hit in the history of Warhammer, and he also plays Skaven, so he's in for a rough time with that. Let's see here. I'm painting as I go, so if you don't see me in the camera, that's why. He has an ability called More and More Doom Rocket. Before making a hit roll with the Doom Rocket, you can say the engineer has overloaded the warhead. If you do so, damage characteristic of this weapon goes to 2d6 instead of d6. However, if you do so, unmodified hit roll of a 1, the attack fails and the model suffers 2d6 mortal wounds. So that could outright kill him. I'm sure he's going to be like a 4 or 5 wound hero. And I'm excited about that. You know, it's one of those things with Skaven where I love the special ability on a hit roll of a 1, and you can always choose not to do it because it never happens enough for you to ever choose not to do it. But at some point in enough games, it will happen, and that's awesome. I also like the idea that his attack itself is pretty it's not unreliable. I mean, 4 up, 3 up is not unrealistic at all, unless you roll like Shu. But what I will say is that, like, I don't know, I feel like it's you're gonna bet on it a lot, but you're also gonna lose on it a lot as well as a result because of that. So that's interesting stuff. I'm very excited about that. Moving on to the next guy. Just finished one more dude. The Abhorrant archregent is the supreme leader of the Flesh Eater Courts. Very excited for this dude. I love his model. I love the half wings that he has instead of the full ones that go like to his waist. Absolutely stunning model. As far as how does he work, Ferocious Hunger has a casting value of 6. Pick a friendly Flesh Eater Court holding 24 inches. 24 inches is a sweet range. And roll a d3. Add the roll to the attack's characteristic of melee weapons used by that unit until the next hero phase. Now, this is important because I think Flesh Eater Courts, like their ghouls, can already get up to 3 or 4 attacks each. So that would be incredible. They're not the best attacks, but they're not bad by any stretch. I'm gonna pull this window out and minimize it so I can see your guys' chat here on this side. There we go. Boop. Let's see. So that is pretty cool. It's still a betting one, but even getting an additional attack on a unit that already has a robust number of attacks is just good. I don't think there's a downside to that. I mean, obviously, rules-wise, there's not a downside to it. It's just whether or not you want to do it. And it is a spell, so it's not like you're using command points for it, which is sweet. Let me just get one more horn done as I hammer out these guys. Like I said, I'm getting kind of tired of just painting beasts, so I need to get these guys done before I lose all momentum, so to speak. But so of the two, just looking at them, I think the archregent's my favorite model of the two. I just think he looks far more dynamic and imposing, partially because he's supposed to be the big bad. Let's see here. Summon Imperial Guard, meanwhile, has a unique Flesh Eater Court's command abilities in the choice it offers. You'll be able to pick a supporting character, a supporting courtier, a heavy-hitting unit of knights. Okay, so there's a command ability called Summon Imperial Guard, where you get to choose what you're bringing back. That's kind of cool. Very excited. So there's a little bit of detail on both of those. What I wanted to talk about was actually in the other article, and that was the terrain and stuff like that. So I want to spend just a smidge more time talking about the terrain, where I mentioned before that I do think that Skaven stuff makes perfect sense, right? Their ability to travel is something that you can easily represent with teleporting stuff. I'd love to know your guys' thoughts. Are you... I'm torn. I think it could either be alternate deployment or kind of function like gravesite markers where you summon stuff from there, or it could be both because gravesite markers also let you put things in reserve. Given it depends on like how they word how you have to deploy around them, because Skaven units can be in such big blocks. I guess some of the vehicles like that could be smaller. I don't know. There's a bunch of ways to go. I assume it's more regarding like infantry units, but that's not necessarily true. That's just what we've seen so far. Just a quick survey. How much of my folks listening are getting into Skaven? Because there's a lot of folks really excited about it. For me personally, like Clan Molder is something that interested me a couple years ago, but again, Clan Molder is a lot of dead-looking flesh, which I'm already paying a whole bunch of, so that's not going to happen. And Flesh Eater Courts has already been claimed by my good friend Jack from Rerolling Once, because he has a whole bunch of them, and I didn't scoop them up in time. I didn't talk him out of that army fast enough. Let's see here. Okay, yep, we got some prints. Might work like Sylvaneth trees. Yeah, that would definitely... Oh, dear. Huh. Okay. Sorry about that. My internet's being very strange today. Again, I've called the company, tried to get it reset. I'm not quite sure what's going on. Sorry about that. No, Jack, I'm just kidding. I don't want your Flesh Eater Courts. I'm gonna go with KO. I need to paint something different. But yeah. So anyway, I was getting distracted. The knotholes will be pretty sweet. I think someone said talking about Sylvaneth trees. The thing I think would be different is Sylvaneth trees do offer you cover, and I think these things are too small for that probably. But being able to teleport through them like they do would be legitimately sweet. So yeah, we'll see here. Okay, sorry about that. Trying not to dull you guys. I'm just trying to make sure everything's working on the stream, but it doesn't seem to be that well. Moving into this thing. This is the terrain piece we get for the Flesh Eater Courts, which is basically, obviously it's a throne for the Carrion King, I think we're looking at. I don't know. But someone had said that there's going to be a mechanic for them, like a hungering mechanic, to make them go ballistic and do more attacks. And their theory was that this would feed into that mechanic, giving nearby units a +1. I think that'd be cool. I don't know. The thing is that we know they're going to get redesigned probably from the ground up on some level. But it's not quite sure, just because like I think that the delusion mechanic needs a huge overhaul. Like I think it could be more fun. And I want the throne to play a part of that. Like if you are closer to the throne, meaning you brought the throne for your game, you're just crazier and more out of your mind. And I see Jack said trade me. Thank you so much, Jack. For what? For KO? You want KO? I'll think about that one. But yeah, so I think it could be fun to have something play into the delusion mechanic a little bit more. And that's honestly Skaven stuff. I don't want to say that they're very straightforward. There's a lot of design space they can go into. But what I'm more excited for is the mechanic of the craziness and that kind of stuff built into Fleshier Courts. Because they already have existing lore that they took in a very interesting direction, building upon that, like round 2 for some of these battletomes, I think is going to be stellar. I think round 2 for Fire Slayers will be really cool whenever they get a second book. There's no rumors like that. I don't have any information, but I'm just saying if we see this trend continue, like those factions that, they have some cool gimmicks, but if they were brought in line with what's going on currently in the game, we would see something really totally unique.